This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with David Olds. Did I say that right? David Olds?
You did, man. Just like the car, Oldsmobile.
All right, David Olds, and he's over there in Tennessee somewhere. He's a specialist in wholesaling, and I think that's interesting because I think almost everybody, I didn't, but almost everybody I know started out wholesaling to get their foot in the door, to get some confidence, to get some money in the bank, to get some hush money in the bank. And for those of y'all who don't know what hush money is, that's enough money in the bank to keep your spouse from mouthing off. So, because sometimes, there's a naysayer spouse and we got to satisfy that problem. Anyways, it's just a great place to launch from. You can learn a lot about the business in those early stages, and you can get good at a lot of things. Wholesaling requires the same thing as almost every business, marketing, so that's the key. So before we start on, I'd like to thank my sponsor, Livecom.com, Livecomm.com. There's a reason why my seller financed houses only stay on the market for 4 days or less, about an average days on market, 4 days. I'm using Livecom. I'm capturing all the people calling my signs. I'm capturing all their cell phone numbers. My signs say, seller finance homes for sale. Give me a call. I capture their phone number. I can text them for 2 cents a piece every time I have a house for sale with seller financing. And I can do it in like 30 seconds. And I now have 10,000 people that just refuse to get off my list. I send out text messages that says, please, if you don't want to owner finance home anymore, reply with stop and get off my list. I still got 10,000 people. So I just email out links to the next property. I don't even use signs anymore.
Really?
And I didn't even have to use signs after I got about 3,000 people was all I needed. 3,000 targeted people that I could hit with a message for 2 cents. And there is so much more to do with Livecom, Livecomm.com. Check it out. Watch the videos on the home screen and then let it run. It doesn't have to be for real estate. It'd be for any company that would like to be able to text their customers that have called their advertisements or their signs or their office or any place. So there you go.
Wonderful.
Livecom.com. All right, I paid the bills, David. I paid the bills. So let's do a little background. You're in Tennessee. Where in Tennessee?
I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So whenever I say that, people always ask me about the Chattanooga Choo Choo, because I guess that was a big song in the 40s and 50s. But yeah, Chattanooga is at the kind of the bottom, the southeast side of Tennessee. We're exactly 2 hours north of Atlanta, or an hour and a half the way my wife drives.
I just want to know, how far are you from Nashville?
About 2 hours, same thing. Or if my wife drives an hour and a half, she drives significantly faster than me.
I've been writing songs for 47 years, well-kept secret. One of the best kept secrets in the world. So you went through the crash in Florida.
Yeah.
Like you said, all hell broke up, the end of the world. Did you move because of that crash? Or are we going to move anyways? Or did you say, look, I got to find a better, stable, more stable, a climate, and I mean financial real estate climate that you can function in? Is that why you moved?
Yeah, 100%. You hit it exactly right. Initially, even though we were investing in rehabbing, I worked as a salesman for Pro Build and 84 Lumber. And my wife was actually a purchasing agent for a large custom home builder. So not only did our real estate business take a dive, but our business, our everyday, jobs, W-4s or whatever they are, those took a dive. So yeah, initially we had some properties there, and we were sort of looking around the southeast to find a place to invest in some small multifamilies that we could manage from Orlando. And we picked up 1 or 2 here in Chattanooga, or duplex. And managing that remotely was a little bit of a struggle. It's 577 miles. I know, because there was a Saturday where I had to race up here to deal with a property. So, once the crash happened, we realized we just needed to find a better place, a place where the market hadn't been affected so drastically by. So
I just want to take my hat off to you, man. So here, I got to put it on first. So I got my hat. I'm taking it off to you, because that is what so many people need to do to find themselves and to find this business. Some people that I talk to, they're just in the wrong damn place to do this business effectively. Like you're in Los Angeles, or yeah, there's ways to do it, but the barrier to entry is so high. I mean, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in California could be $600,000 or $700,000. That's not, and it makes your ROIs tiny and your risk high and your return low. And I've known some people, and I've actually coached a few people that finally got it, and I said, man, you really need to get the hell out of there. You'd kill if you're just holding your head above water where you're at. You would kill it in another place. You would kill it.
Yeah.
And a few of them went on to do that, and they became multi-millionaires in a short period of time, because it's like dragging around 100-pound weight, and then all of a sudden they cut it loose and you don't have 100-pound weight anymore. You can run that sprint a lot faster, and easier.
And that's what we found coming from Orlando, which is a very sophisticated investor market, right? Like the third biggest RIA in the country is in Orlando. So then we came to Chattanooga, and one small RIA that would have 8 people there, like not sophisticated at all. These guys had no idea what an assignment of contract was. We had to educate title companies. We did some pretty innovative stuff back then, but like we were the first people to be in town and doing any kind of wholesaling on a big scale. And because of that, we were able to just dominate the market for a long time.
Plus, there's some really affordable houses in that part of the country. And back when you moved, they were even more affordable. David, how I started my career in San Antonio, no one would give me a loan. I didn't have any private money, didn't know about private money. But even if I did, I didn't have the belief system, because like, who's going to loan me money, which was a big mistake. But I didn't have the belief system. I had a limiting belief system, but I had good credit, and I could get credit cards. I bought my first 100 houses on credit cards because in 1996, houses in San Antonio were 8,000, 12,000, in the lesser parts of town, 15,000. This is credit card money. And also back then, doesn't work now, but I learned that if you had good credit, you applied for a card, they gave it to you with all the benefits, all the cash advance, everything. As soon as I figured that out, I went out and applied for 75 credit cards. I got 55 of them. And then I bought like 40 houses.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 100% mindset is so crucial, and everybody has that, right? We all of us, no matter what level you're at, you have that day where you're just like, there's no more houses to buy. No, nobody else is going to buy a house from me. The world, and you just have to be able to shake that off and get through it. But yeah, when we came to Chattanooga, we knew nobody. It's that perfect story of, we rolled into town, we burned the boats, and we built a business here, and we built friends and connections and a life. I knew one realtor who had kind of talked to on the phone, and I drove around with him one day when we were here on a visit. But yeah, we came here to do real estate. We were very single-minded in that approach.
That takes some guts, man. That's why I take my hat off to you. That takes some real guts. But how much better is your life since you did that?
Oh, it's fantastic now. But I mean, Mitch, like the night I got here, I cried myself to sleep, right? I have my wife, my 2 boys, my 3 fat dogs. We bought this house on owner financing. It was worse than I thought. That first night laying there, I'm like, oh, God, I made a terrible mistake. Like, this is the worst thing ever. So people always hear these stories and they're like, oh, you just had the perfect, everything was just right. And like, it's not. Like your life is just a series of, just trials and tribulations that you're overcoming. And so, yeah, it worked out great. I tell people I was just too dumb to quit, but sure, it's definitely hard. Anything worth achieving is.
Well, so you go there to buy these apartments, but then the recession's continuing on. Nobody's loaning any money, so it's really hard to borrow money for apartment complexes and stuff, which is, by the way, just so I can throw this in, my strategy of seller finance boomed in the recession. I was buying a house a day, but the key was I had in previous years built a ton of trust and a large level of cash reserves that I could reach to from private lenders. So the banks were closed, so the prices of the house were falling, but I didn't need a bank to buy the house. Yeah. So I was getting from private money 8, 9, 10%, 5-year, 7-year, 10-year money. Then I was creating these notes, selling the houses for 100% more.
Sure.
Because the rent said I could. When no one can buy a house, everyone's a renter. So I just want to say, I didn't plan it that way. I just happened to be in a strategy that I learned boomed in a recession. And then my buyers didn't need a bank to buy my house because I was carrying the financing. Right. So it was like the perfect storm. The banks had closed, and the only way to buy a house was from Mitch Stephen, because he'll give you payments.
Yeah. And our situation was pretty similar too. So when we were in Orlando, we were doing a lot of pre-foreclosure marketing. And we were actually so good at it, sometimes our letter was getting there before the list pendants was signed for. So anyway, so we come to Chattanooga and we need to start wholesaling. Well, I know that we need to wholesale low because we're in a recession, and we have to provide value to our buyers. I'd love to say it was because I was so smart, but what I did is I'm like, well, I don't want to mess with anybody that's in foreclosure. I'm not the short sale guy. I don't want to do any of that nonsense. So I started pulling lists of free and clear properties, right? So, okay, that sounds great. Free and clear properties, everybody tells you to do that. So I was pulling free and clear properties. I'm going out and I'm saying, hey, Mitch, I'd love to buy your house. I'm at 40,000. You're like, well, I need 60. If I couldn't turn it into a wholesale deal, I'd be like, well, I sort of bumbled my way into this. I'm like, well, Mitch, do you need all the money at once? Well, no. Well, cool. Maybe I can work something out where, let me work up a couple different ways that we can buy this property. And so we sort of backed into the owner financing. And again, it was created because we were in a recession. People didn't want their houses. They were, you remember, right? Like, oh, we're underwater, no equity. I got to just let this thing go back to the bank. So if we did get a mortgage person, we could take it sub 2. If it was a free and clear person off of our mailing list, we're able to either wholesale a property, or if we couldn't get it at the right number, turn them into owner financing.
Yeah, you'd buy it with seller financing.
Seller financing.
And, yeah. So, but one thing bounces to another, and you end up landing on wholesaling, and then because kind of out of necessity, because you got to do something fast. You got to get some money. You don't have a lot of money, so you got to do. You got to work with. That's what I always tell people too. If you don't have any money, find a plan that works with no money. There's a lot of plans out there. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of ways to get it done. When you don't have money, you're a professional deal finder, because whoever finds the deal, if you're a good deal finder, you're worth money. And those deals that you're finding are worth money. Then you go from there. We won't go into the details of it, but you're a professional deal writer-upper. That's what I like to say, because you ain't real smart, you ain't real good, but you're, the guy who has that contract and the right to close 30, 45 days, he's got a lot of power, tying up a lot of assets.
Yeah. And I use that example all the time, right? I say everything is in life, you have time or you have money, right? When we came to Chattanooga, we had $5,000 between 3 of us in 2009. Not very impressive, right? But we found a way to make it work because we had no money, but we had all the time in the world. Boy, we woke up thinking about wholesaling, did wholesaling during the day, went to bed thinking about it. So we're driving for dollars, we're putting out signs, we're calling people, we're door knocking, we're doing every single thing that we can to make it work. And we, literally bootstrap the business up. Now I tell people I've got a little bit of money and less time, so I'm able to do some different things, some SMS.
So that fear is a great motivator, isn't it?
Oh yeah, right. I tell that all the time, right? It's even when I was in sales in building materials, an older guy, salesman, taught me that. This guy named John. I'm like, John, you had a great month. You sold $400,000. He's like, yeah, man, but today's the first of the month. We all start at 0. I'm like, okay. So he really instilled that. And once you do a deal, like you've got to move on and get the next one. We can't sit around and talk about that great deal I did 3 months ago. And I tell people, like, listen, I have a wife, 2 boys, and 3 fat dogs, man. And my fat Petunia, the English Bulldog, she loves cookies. I got to go out and do some deals, right? I've got to find a way to keep generating that cash.
Yeah. So what's an average day? What's an average month look like for David Olds? I mean, he wakes up in the morning on the 1st. I mean, what's been done by the end of the month? What's a decent month for you, or average month?
We're 136 is what we're averaging on assignment fees. Our rental business, we try to
say that again. 136. What? 136 pennies. $136.
$136,000.
Okay. Yeah. Is that net?
No, that's our gross dollars. We're netting. I'd like to be a little higher, but we're only at about 30%. So we went on a big expansion, so we put a bunch of money into pay-per-click.
Well, that's always the way. And then you try things that don't work and everything. If you're a grower, if you want to grow, then you're going to always have some R&D money, and some of it's going to work, some of it isn't. But let me just say this to the folks out there: how many people, I wish I could see, raise your hands, could live pretty good off of $30,000 a month? Okay, that's about everybody out there. So. And there's nobody that shouldn't be able to. So, I mean, it might be below you because you do better, but everybody, that's a good chunk of change. And that's a far cry from $5,000 from among 3 people in a shanty somewhere. So you latch onto this wholesaling, and then you start to scale it.
Yeah. So again, scaling back then was myself, my wife, my brother, and we had another partner at the beginning who was with us for a little bit. Yeah. So scaling for us was just doing more, right? Pulling a little bit, because this is before all the stuff that, I sound like the old guy, like you kids have all the greatest toys now. Back then, we had to put out more signs, do more driving, send more postcards, come up with different ways to kind of innovate within those 3 or 4 different strategies. So yeah, scaling was like getting an extra person to drive for dollars. Like that was scaling back in those days. So yeah, so we're doing that. We got really good at making cash offers. If that didn't work, we immediately rolled into, hey, looking at the deal, how else can we make money here, right? Can we buy this subject to? Can we do owner financing? Can we do or seller financing? Can we get the seller to hold the note? And again, another thing because I started a little bit late in life doing wholesaling, I was 39. So I always knew like, geez, I'm 39, I'm not going to live forever. I don't want to be on a 30-year note. So we tried to condense the amortization and be as aggressive with that as we could. And this just comes from asking about like cash flow and what we're making every month. I have it set up so all of my properties actually will pay off within 20 years. So what is this, 2021? So within the next eight years, like we're at the end now. So that by the time I'm 60, everything is paid off and it's free and clear. And then I've got that $50,000 a month coming in forever. All right.
Yeah. So one thing that I always like, and take note of this because it's almost 100% true. When someone carries a note for you on a property, if you'll just ask them what kind of discount they take to be paid off this year, you're almost always going to buy that house for significantly less than what you got your note for. Yeah. I mean, the minute that your note holder understands that they can get their hands on a bulk of that money or a big chunk of that money in advance for a discount, and that could be tremendous in your favor, then that note will never make it the 20 years. They'll always find a reason that they need the cash today, and they're willing to take sometimes a 40-30% discount, maybe more.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. See, because when we're pitching the idea, I'm like, Mitch, here's what, I know you wanted 60,000, but here I'm going to show you how you can make 93,000 over the course of 10, 12 years. And even though it's $300 a month or whatever the number is, but you're 100% right. You get a big wholesale deal, you crack a $40,000 fee, take that and pay off one of those properties if you can. And it's worked every time except once. I tried it last year. I had some money in a little house in North Chattanooga, and I sent Sally or Sandra, whatever her name was, sent her an email. And I'm like, hey, I think I owed her like 21,000. I said, hey, I just had another property sale. I got 16,000. If you'd like, I could pay off your note early and just get you cleared up if you'll take 16,000. Within like 5 minutes, she emailed me back with the exact dollar to the penny of what I owed her. This is what your note is, to pay off. And this is what I would expect if you want to pay it off early. I'm like, okay, we'll keep going with what we've got. But
I said almost 100% of the time, but almost, that you found that's the one, that's the lady, and she doesn't need money and she doesn't have a circumstance. And so why should she?
No, you know what I mean? Most people, you're right. Because sure, they've been taking that $300 or $400, $500 a month, and you're like, hey, I'm going to give you $15,000. Yeah, let me just be done with this. Let me just get that money and be done. You're 100% right.
Crazy world. So you offer to train people, right? Do I have that right? I read your bio. You guys have a course on wholesaling. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, I'm kind of the AntiGroup person. I worked for big coaching companies years ago, and I kind of got out of that and just wanted to focus on wholesaling. And because we're a high volume wholesaler, I get a lot of people that always, hey, can I call you, pick your brain? Can I come to the office? Let me see how you're doing it. Let me, what are you doing? What software, all that kind of stuff. So honestly, because I was getting so many of those calls, I set up a course mainly focusing on dispositions, because for anybody that's in like the wholesale kind of real estate side of the world, there are a million courses out there for that, just a million. And again, because I run my own business, I'm always out there scouring the internet, looking for new videos and new things and new technologies or new things that work. And there's nothing out there on dispositions. It's just not. It's always like the last page of somebody's book or, the last 3 minutes of a video. And what they always say, and you've probably heard this, if you have a good deal, it will sell. And that drives me crazy because I've had a ton of good deals, but that good deal sitting in a contract on my desk is not selling to anybody. Right. So
dispositions, you're talking about sales. You've acquired the property. Now you need to dispose of it. Right. And even if that's true, if it's a good deal, it's going to sell. The question is, how do you sell it for the most money?
And how do you sell
it the fastest?
Right. Because if you're only doing one deal a month, it's probably not that big of a deal. But if you're trying to scale and grow your business a little bit, and now you've got 4 deals or 6 deals or 10 deals, the way I explain it to people is it's like produce, right? You're like Walmart with milk. You got to get those first deals out because you got 10 more coming. So you have to come up with a system to get these deals sold quick, right? And that was the thing I found. So many people, like it seemed very second nature to me because we do it all the time. And I started my business and I really focused on the dispo side, but just so many people needed help with that, that's why we came up with that course.
Okay, so I'm gonna let everybody go to 1000houses.com/do deals, DODEALS, and go there. And do you have something to give to the? I forgot to look at this part before the interview, and I'm sorry. Do you have a giveaway for the people out there? Is there something you can give them to introduce them to you or show them a few little insider tricks?
Let me do this. How about if I give them my buying and selling contract? How would that be?
Okay, so
one-page contracts, very simple. I get a lot of contracts from wholesalers that want to JV with us, and there are these crazy 4-page contracts. We have a 1-page buying, a 1-page selling contract. It's the same contract that we use all over the country. We use with our students. It's been vetted by all the biggest title companies in the country. Very simple, very straightforward. I tell people it's so easy a third grader can understand it. But yeah, I'd love to give that away.
Okay, so go to 1000houses.com/do deals. You can get a copy of those 2 1-page contracts, a 1-page to sell and a 1-page to buy. Very cool stuff. And then you can also learn all the bullet points, and an in-depth what you might receive and learn from David if you decide to take him up on his course offer. I really like the fact that it doesn't sound like to me David Olds is a millhouse. I get the impression that you're going to put your heart and soul into this product and you just want to get some people down the road to where they're going, right? Because that's how I am too. It's like, I got sometimes people want to give me, $25,000 for one-on-one coaching, this year. And it's like, you're not ready. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the victory. You know what I mean? I want to be a part of a winning team. I don't want to take this with 2 cents, but like, if I made another $1 million right now, it's not going to change my life any, you know what I mean? So what I need is an emotional reward. And I think that's why people like you and me teach this is you want to be able to look back and say, man, I really helped some people really change the course of their life,
Yeah, and 100%. And that's what I look back at. And one of the things that really like hits me in my soul is I do remember when I was new. I do remember going to the real estate club in Orlando. I tell people this and never believe it. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I read that. He said, go find a RIA, all that stuff. So it was July 2000, I don't know, whatever it was, 3 or 4. And I told my wife, I'm going down to this RIA meeting. I'm going to go learn about real estate. So I got in there and I drove into this parking lot. And Mitch, it felt like 1,000 cars. We buy houses, inspection, like all the stuff, right? And I was too afraid to stop. Right? I drove through the parking lot, went home to my wife, couldn't find it. I'll try again next month. So, and then even when I was brave enough to go in, I do remember those days of like, I saw the guy over there in the corner who was doing all the deals and I wanted to go talk to him and I didn't, right? So that's one of the reasons we started a RIA here. And, the reason that I want to do some coaching is absolutely to help people. Same thing, couple grand, not changing my life at all. But like, probably like you, I'm at a point where like, we're good. Like we're good. If it all stops tomorrow, we're good. But I do enjoy bringing some younger people on that are aggressive and want to do some stuff and partnering with them and helping them do some deals, right? Of course, it benefits, right? But
yeah. Well, the problem is if you don't charge anything for it, you won't ever find any of the winners because the tire kickers will just bleed you dry. I mean, when I say bleed you dry, your energy, they'll just they'll suck all the energy out of you, and no one will do anything. I know because I did that. I used to give my time away, but I said, it's not working. No one's doing anything. Yeah. He said, you're not finding the right caliber person. The person that you're getting doesn't have a high enough give a damn.
Yeah, so, they've got to have some buy-in, right? Because all these Rich Dad and they're fine, whatever. But all the gurus that are on like the circuit, every town, they're like, go find a wholesaler that's doing a lot of business and go talk to him. And I've had countless people come into my office and I sit them all at the end of the table and I'll talk to them for 15 or 20 minutes. I don't do it as much now, but I would tell them all the same thing. Hey, so you can make a bunch of money in real estate. They're like, yeah, I want to do it. Okay, cool. Here's what I want you to do. It's very simple. I want you to go out this afternoon, drive around, find me a list, make a list of 100 vacant houses. I'm like, can you do that? Yeah. I'm like, look for places where there's nothing inside, tall grass, newspapers. Do that, come back, and we'll go to the next step. I probably had 150 of those, 3 people have ever come back. So you're right. I mean, so all that time and energy, just people aren't serious. So which is too bad.
Well, but what's important, like Dale Ramsey, they do the primal scream when people get debt free. Dale Ramsey would hate me. I just made payments on $26 million of private money this month on the 1st, but the point is, he has a goal. When people reach that goal, they do the primal scream. When we ring the bell at my office, when people can tell their boss that they no longer need their services. And to me, that's really important because, the first step to me is just replace your job.
Yeah.
Just whatever you're making at your job. And for once in your life, not making a lot of money might be your greatest asset, because it's going to be if you only make $2,000 a month, the wholesaling business will get you out of your job pretty damn fast.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And why this is important, Dave, is because I believe that the first step, if wealth is in the cards for you, is to get out of a JOB, because it's going to free up 2,600 hours a year.
Sure.
that you can become what you need to become in your life, and figure out where you belong and become the expert that you need to be in whatever it is you choose, so that you can make a living or beyond, So that's what I say is the first step is always, whether you use whatever strategy in real estate, and there's a lot of strategies in there. It doesn't matter which one you use. Become an expert at one of them and get good enough at it that you don't need a job anymore, because you're just going to free up 2,600 hours a year.
Right. 100%. Absolutely. And we do the same thing. Do 1 or 2 deals, right? Like, don't start LLCs, don't do it. Just do some deals, generate some cash, get some money in the bank so that you can afford to go 2 weeks or 3 weeks without a check while you get this business up and running. 100%.
Yeah. When I needed to make $35,000 a year at the most. I mean, that was like, so I could be pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of money.
Isn't it crazy to think back to that?
When I got $35,000 in the bank, I quit my job. I wanted to see what this world looked like when I didn't have anything else to do with that.
Yeah.
And it changed my life.
That's a tough thing for some people, right? Because all of a sudden they have that freedom and they don't know how to structure their time. I had that problem. I went to a private Catholic school in high school, and then I got out of there where, of course, high school, very structured. Every single thing you do has got, you're here. And I got to college and it was like, we don't really care if you show up or not. It doesn't matter. So that was something that I had to learn. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. That's why, I feel like I'm an old guy. I have to have an office, because if I sat at home, it'd be me and Fat Petunia the bulldog watching Netflix all day. So I have to have a place where I get up and go to, and
well, you have to. That's the whole point. You need to learn yourself. You have to figure out what works for you. And nobody's the same. I mean, even when you take anybody's course, your course, my course, doesn't matter. You got to morph it to you. You can't pollute it so much that it doesn't work anymore. But you also got to fine tune it and get it to fit into who you are,
Sure. And that's God.
Yeah, everyone's different, right? Everyone's different.
Right. And I just got off a coaching call with my students just before this, and I was explaining, they were asking me some things. I'm like, well, do this. I said, but you got to work you got to make it sound like it's coming from you. You can't just parrot me. And even when I'm in a room with 50 of the top wholesalers in the country, we all do it just a little bit different, right? Everybody's got things that they're better at. And yeah, definitely just mold it to you.
So tell me more about this course, then I'm going to wrap it up here.
Sure.
What can they expect? What they can expect? And and I just want to say right now, if he names the price, I don't know. It's September the 15th, September the 16th, 2021. The man has the right to change his price anytime he wants to. But today, right now, this is what we're talking about. So
yeah. So what we focus on in our course, and it's the one thing that I see that's really neglected, is people start out with, let me just go get a bunch of contracts, right? Anybody that I can get with a pulse to sign a contract, that's great. And then again, I see the same problem over and over. People get contracts and they can't get them sold. So the first thing that I do in our course, and when I'm doing training for people on my team, we draw a timeline on the whiteboard, and we start at the end. We start with the end in mind. What is the end? Cashing a check. Not one thing we do here matters. Like, oh, we have company shirts and cashing checks. Like, let's be clear, that's what matters, right? So we cash checks. Who's basically writing those checks? Cash buyers, right? So we have to understand, it's cash buyers that are funding our business. And I know that sounds dumb, right? But there are a lot of acquisitions people who have no idea what that really means. And what that means is they've got to get a property that's under contract with us at a number that makes sense that we could sell to that cash buyer, and it's still a deal, right? So then what do cash buyers want? Well, they want functional properties where they can make money. You don't want one of those houses that, I'm sure you've seen them. They've been added on to 90 times and they're just functionally obsolete. So even within our dispo, we train that, but that goes all the way back to our lead generation and our acquisitions people. So we don't spend a bunch of time marketing in towns with 800 people, right? Because what am I going to do when I get a contract there? Sell it to one of the other 799 people? It's very hard to do any work there and be successful and get the prices that you want. So we build everything off of that. Start with the end in mind. Then you're getting contracts, you're getting them in the right places. We talked to you about negotiating with sellers and setting the stage for what's to come. We deal with all aspects of marketing. And the two things that I really specialize in is systems and marketing, right? And in systems, simplification is scalable, right? I've got friends who are really smart real estate investors. And when they're done talking and writing on the whiteboard, it looks like, I don't know, like that Simple Mind, right? Where there's so much stuff up there and it's so freaking complicated. And that's awesome. I'm not taking anything away from that, but only that guy can do that. Like he can't train 5 people to go out and do deals like that, right? So simplification is scalable. So I have to have a system that anybody can follow. So all the way through with our marketing, buyers, how to talk to buyers, how to negotiate, how to get your deal closed and get through transactions, dealing with title companies. So we talk about everything from kind of soup to nuts all the way through.
All right. So I want you guys to go to 1000houses.com /do deals. If you're interested in maybe a career or you're starting out or you're doing wholesaling, but you think you need some help, get over there and take a look at what he's got to offer. Believe me, you've got to put some money into yourself if you're going to get any better. It doesn't work any other way. I mean, no matter what level you're at, whenever you plateau and you stop growing or it's not working, then you got to put some money in to find a coach or a different method or another strategy to get you whatever it is you want, be it buyers or sellers or private money or whatever it is. And so I want you guys to go to there, 1000houses.com /do deals. Check it out. There'll be everything you need to get in contact. Maybe you just want to ask David some questions himself, like, what do if you have some questions about what's in there, and I'm sure he'll be able to talk to you. Yeah. And make sure that you're the right fit. Nobody wants anyone to buy something if they're not a right fit. So I think it's a great thing that you offer. Thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's been great. What would you like to add to those new guys that are going through the debacle right now and need to make a change? What do you want to say to that guy before we wrap it up?
Man, I'll tell you this, and it's one thing that I've really learned the last couple of years. Being an entrepreneur is hard, right? Sometimes you feel like you're just, when you're starting out and you haven't had a lot of success yet, you're a man or woman just on an island and your head's down and you're working and you're just doing everything you can, and just sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you're hitting some roadblocks. And what I tell people is get around other people, right? If there's a RIA in your area or a meetup group, and if there's not one, start one, but get around other investors. And we say, like, be around the campfire, right? Because there are days when it can be hard and there's days when it's discouraging, and being around other people and feeling that energy of, oh, Sally just closed this deal and Bob's doing this kind of cool deal. And, Mitch is doing a gazillion dollars in, seller finance stuff, that can be inspiring, and you can use that to sort of fuel you through the down times. But get a tribe, right? Get a group of friends, and they don't have to be people in your area. Maybe they're people around the country. There's plenty of Facebook groups, but find some people that resonate with you and are interested in the same things and have the same goals as you. And, you're just together, right? Because there are days I call my buddy and I'm bringing him up, and there are days they're calling me and picking me up off the ground, right? Because no matter how successful you are, you have good days and you have bad days, right? Because if you're not hitting obstacles, you're not trying, and you're not moving forward.
That's right. Couldn't have said it better. All right. This is Mitch Stephen with the 1000houses.com podcast. We've been talking with David Olds. He's over in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he's really refined the fine art of wholesaling, doing a great job, making a great living, actually setting himself up to he's already wealthy, but to become as wealthy as he wants to be. It's just a matter of how far you want to go. Not everybody wants to fly, be a $1 billion Learjet guy, right. And that's fine too. I'm certainly not one of those guys. I don't need a Learjet. I don't need an entourage. I'm real content. Yeah. One of the reasons I do these podcasts, though, is because it keeps me, what you just said, around people in that we have a common thought process. And I've made a lot of friends through this endeavor, podcasting. And I've also learned a lot from the people that I talk to. And so I try to give as much as I can, but I learn too. I can't keep up with everything. I can't keep up with technology and all the new laws and everything that's going on. It's hard. And sometimes you just need one nugget to change the whole year.
Yeah, you'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. And that's why I go to as many conferences or, kind of masterminds and things like that. But being around other guys who are doing the same thing, or even something that's slightly different, it's amazing. A guy who maybe is selling everything on a lease option, and he'll tell me something about marketing that I never thought. Like you're texting. I promise you, I'm going to be looking that up the minute I'm done. I get away from this computer.
Well, look, like so to build a cash buyers list, you go out and you put up a sign that says, $150,000 house for sale for 70,000 cash. And the recording just says, because in Livecom you can set a recording, says, that deal's already shut down, but I will text you next time I have one, because I just, I don't say this, but I just captured the guy's phone number if he called from a cell phone.
Yeah.
So, how to build a cash buyers list in a town you've never been in before, if you can't find any other way, put up 300 or 400 bandit signs with that message on it, with a no-brainer deal.
Yeah.
And while you're sleeping, the phone numbers in your list going to be racking up. We're going to assume that anyone who called that number, based on what that bandit sign said, that they either had the cash to buy a $70,000 house, or they knew how to get their hands on the cash to buy a $70,000 house. And that's a cash buyers list. And in Livecom, you would label that phone number cash buyers, and you could do all kinds of things to drive people to that phone number. But at the end of the day, that list is just cash buyers. So you would label everything cash buyer, and everything that you did to find cash buyers, you would use that phone number, so that when someone called it, they would kind of, in essence, raise their hand, identify themselves, and give you their phone number as a potential cash buyer. And for 2 cents a piece, you can hit them with your message.
I absolutely love that. And that's brilliant. I used to have to do it the old school way. Like, somebody would call me, I would store them in my phone and, and try to keep track of it that way. But I love that it goes in there and it's automatically recorded. And think of how much money that saves you from having to have somebody answer the phone. I love it. That's brilliant.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell everyone on this call that's listening to this podcast. My phone number is 210-669-4020. So I'm telling you, David, if you want to write this down or get to my office and collect it, if you want to talk about how I'm using Livecom to further my business, call me, because that's just the tip of the freaking iceberg. I'm telling you, it's just the tip.
All right. Well, I'm going to be in San Antonio in a month or so. Maybe I'll pop by your office.
Or if you want to call or whatever, 210-669-4020. And I want to say this out loud. It works for all kinds of businesses. So, maybe you're a part-time wholesaler right now trying to replace your job, but then you think about whatever your job is. Maybe you're a salesman for swimming pools. This will work for swimming pools. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate your time. And, it never fails. I get like 17 calls at the 1 minute that, they're all bumping in. All right, you guys, this is Mitch Stephen with 1000houses.com. Like to thank my sponsor, Livecom. Like to thank David Olds. And go to 1000houses.com/do deals and check out what David has to offer, because I think if you're the right person, it could be the right thing for you. All right, you guys, we're out of here.